Hi everyone. I'm running late, but I'm on time here, but I'm running late to what I need to do. So give me a second here. We'll just see if anybody wants to tune in and tune in or tune on or whatever you want to call it. So I throw this on because I took a nap before and I fell asleep so here's what it is. Today we're going to be talking about masculine energy. I am going to offer readings today, so if you have a question for spirit that you want to ask, you can go ahead and ask it in the live chat, and then in the description box there's information. Please say hello in the chat. Hello, if you're joining, I just need a second before I tap into this. Okay. Please like and subscribe. So next time I'll try to make sure there's maybe some music or something. I'll put it in the notes. What time this actually starts. I'm going to start now. So, welcome everyone. So it's 7:09. I'm going to get my timer going. Next time, maybe I'll just be late. Thinking this might be an hour and a half today. We'll see. But welcome. My name is Jordan Johnson. I'm a psychic medium. My website is jojoempathic.com. If you are interested in booking a reading with me, I'd love to work with you. I do offer journey packages, which are bundled discounted sessions that will really aid to your transformation if we work together for multiple sessions. Okay, so I do work with a lot of men, and today's topic is the masculine container. This is a really, really important topic, um, mainly because I see this as an issue, not just in America, but worldwide, that we're in a crisis um, as men and women. And we don't know what to do about it. We're not given solutions that are really forward thinking, that are intuitive, that are resonating with us. And we are feeling more isolated and alone than ever before. And this is a problem. So I'm going to offer some solutions and maybe give some tips to why things are the way they are. So please like and subscribe. Drop a comment if you can hear me when you tune in, and just please let me know. So we're going to go ahead and just dive into this information. Should be pretty helpful. This is very necessary to a masculine, what I would say, identity crisis is, and it's affecting women, not just men. So I want to start by saying that I don't want to shame men. I don't want this to be me out here shaming men. So if you tune in and this may speak to you, I don't want you to feel shame or blame. When you have a crisis, you want to speak up and say something, especially women. You know, it's like I really resonate with men because I come from a very male dominated family. My dad has two brothers. I grew up very, very close with his one brother. And in my first generation, I was the only female granddaughter for a long time before my goddaughter came. And so I have an older cousin that's like an older brother. I have a brother. I've got then another younger male cousin and two younger male cousins. And then finally my beautiful goddaughter came. And then there's another cousin that's a female as well. But I grew up around a lot of men and a lot of boys. And they're really good fathers. And I empathize with men because I feel like I can't, I don't know how it is for you guys, but I just know that men really do love their families and they want to protect and love and be there in their children's lives. And sometimes they're given the short end of the stick in courts often. They are misunderstood. And I think the church has failed the masculine by indoctrination instead of actually promoting authenticity and the laws of energy, and such as this video today. So hopefully you guys find this helpful, and I don't blame you guys for where we're at. We weren't taught healthy masculinity or healthy femininity. We've not seen it in the collective consciousness at all. So, never seen the healthy masculine in power. Right now, we see a very toxic masculine in power. We've never seen the healthy feminine in power. We weren't allowed to rise. Ever since we were more in control of governments and tribes, and that was taken from us, and we were ripped from the Bible, and we're called the lost goddess now. So we've never seen the healthy feminine, and right now we're seeing a switch. We're seeing women rise, and we're seeing a lot of men in a deep, deep crisis of severe depression. We're going to get into some statistics in this video. And I think key and core to the imbalanced masculine is that they're not able to provide healthy containers for themselves or for their families. And this is really hurting them because naturally they feel well when they can. So as we shift into the matriarch, it's important to understand that, this is not men versus women. I want to make that very, very clear. This is not men versus women. We need to come together. The number one question that people ask psychics is about love. Okay? We're driven by it. We want it. And we don't want to be alone deep down. No matter how much a woman has in her hyper independent stage or phase of her life, she still a lot of times wants that container from the masculine. No matter how much money she has, no matter how much success, women need to feel safe with you guys. And that's something that I really want to get through, that we don't feel safe a lot of the times with you guys. And so how you make that switch from like more of the unhealed masculine to more of the healthy healed is that you learn how to form like what we call a container. So if you think of like Tupperware, glass or plastic, it holds your whatever you put in it. It's got it. Okay, so the pasta's held. It's not going to slip all over the fridge, floor. It's safe, and you can put a lid on it, and you can let it go, and you can trust. So women need that in order to have this wall down. What I'm noticing is that, and this has been my walk too. As the matriarch rises, women are becoming hyper independent and in their masculine energy, and this is causing a lot of health issues with reproduction, the heart, mental health. Women are suffering, and we're paying for that overcompensation of us being in our masculine energy. We deep down don't like it, and it hurts. So we really want to grow as a collective to healing our wounded energies and switch to the conscious energies. So when I say divine masculine, I am talking about the conscious masculine. So if you are going through maybe a healing journey, or you are trying to better yourself or heal trauma or emotional healing, and you're maybe getting into spirituality and energy healing, and you're saying like, how do I make this switch? What you're doing is you're healing the wounded parts of you, of your consciousness, so that they're not taking over you. And you're not led by your inner child anymore. You're not led by the wounded you that, maybe never had a father or never had a mother. Because a lot of times, until you address that, it can run you. It can run your life and run your mental health. And you're not taught as men how to hold emotions or be vulnerable. So in this video, I'm going to kind of go over some tips on like how you can be vulnerable and still hold a container, because you can. And you can't run from your emotions. What happens is a lot of men, they put, like I had a friend, he told me he just puts his emotions on a shelf. He's got a lot of disorders, okay? Emotions are what makes us human. Emotions they resonate with the feminine, yes. With water, that's where we get ocean from. This planet is mainly ocean, okay? The ocean is a portal into space. If you didn't know that, I don't want to get too woo-woo here, but it is. And it is how we manifest, is through emotion. It's how we connect with one another, is through emotion. So you have to get good at understanding your emotions and not repressing them, because you're going to run the risk of rage, outbursts, diseases. I'm going to go over all of that, okay? So we're making the switch to more of a conscious masculine energy. And this video is one of the first steps you can take to becoming more conscious of knowing thyself and understanding your energy in a dynamic or relationship. Because when the masculine collapses, Everyone suffers in the family, in the dynamic. Everyone does. Men have a very sacred position. I want to be clear that I feel men and women are equal, but we both have roles. We both have energies. We both can become an embodiment of the consciousness. And so the healthy conscious masculine is the structure. It's like the backbone. It's that container, that Tupperware. So without it, what happens? Well, now that pasta is going all over the fridge. Okay. Now the pasta is like, it's on the floor, like it falls. So men, women, and children, society actually gets dismantled when a man or masculine suffers or collapses. And that's a lot of responsibility for you guys. And so with that, you really have to make sure you're taking care of yourself and managing your stress in a healthy way. Okay. And you're able to have, I think, when it comes to emotions, finding a healthy man that, if you ever seen a man cry, and a lot of men that maybe have, they're like, that's like, and he's still really masculine. You want to find someone that is able to be with his emotions and maybe have someone to vent to in that regard, just that one friend, or even therapy helps. If you don't want to do it with your broskies or whatever, your guys, but you need to find somebody. And when it comes to vulnerability with your wife, and you have to still remember to contain her. So let's say, for example, you're about to lose a house. You're really late on mortgage. You can't pay it. You as the masculine energy are to contain and protect and hold. And so I'm not saying to be dishonest to your wife. I'm saying you have to be skilled in emotional intelligence to be real, be vulnerable. I'm not saying suppress your vulnerability. Talk about it. But be mindful if you coming into it in a certain way, you're going to dismantle this woman. She's going to feel not safe. She's going to freak out. And I think that this could cause you even more disruption and imbalance if your wife is dismantled, especially because she is the energy currency. She is tied to your money flow. She is tied to your well-being. Women have that power. So as the man is containing, she has this creation energy that she holds. She is a nurturer. She is the creative. So she can help with your manifestation. So we don't want to make her dismantled. We want to keep her safe. Okay. And help women to stay in their softness. The matriarch does not rise to dominate. Okay. So we're not rising into these places to be like, we're going to take over you. And some women are, they do give that narrative. I think it's more so to restore balance because it's been ripped from us. And we do need more nurture in our society. We do need more care for one another in our society. We do need the feminine energy to take a stance in politics, in the world, in government, and business, because it's been very rigid. If you were to think of frequency energetically of the world has a very rigid nature, and the feminine can come in to help bring that balance through flow. Okay. So what does the healthy conscious masculine actually look like? So let's go ahead and do some core traits of the healthy conscious masculine. I touched on container. So when you are embodying your conscious masculine, you're able to hold emotional, relational, and spiritual space, as well as physical space for the woman in your life, your kids. A lot of times women are with men in bed with their husband and they feel alone because he's put his emotions on the shelf. He's not one with himself. He's not authentic then. And she feels now alone because they don't have a real emotional connection. It's just about sex, or it's just about, her taking care of the kids, and it's not really authentic. So you have to, with the container, you have to be able to hold this space for her. You have to be able to hear her. You have to be able to listen to her, give the guidance, give the direction. That is the healthy masculine. Okay. You also feel a lot better when you're in your protector archetypal energy. This is like the warrior archetypal energy. You're disciplined and you have control of your power and how you're distributing it. Okay. And you're also not controlling. You're more stabilizing. to your family. You're stabilizing to her. That is the healthy conscious masculine. And I think that men have kind of run amok in glamorizing or pushing to control women and make them submissive versus working on not controlling them and helping them to stabilize. I think that you as men may feel better more naturally to be able to do that if you can hold that type of structure for her or for your family. Now, the conscious masculine also creates a sense of structure for the home, creates safety through consistency. Okay. If you are not able to provide consistency, you're probably going to struggle with a lot of different areas of your life. And this will dismantle women. They won't be able to feel safe with you. They won't be able to put their wall down. You have to create safety and let this woman know over and over and over and over again, I've got you. I've got you. I like a technique of like men, if you are trying to like bond more deeply with the women in your life, to go behind them and hug them. If this is someone that you're intimate with, like a partner or wife, you can put your hands on her tummy where her womb is and give her a hug. Not even sexually. Women love that. We want to be held. Okay. We want to know this guy's got me. And I'll tell you why. If I were to go outside right now, I know it's dark, it's 7:30 at night here in Texas, and if I were to, and there's, let's say, 5 gentlemen on the corner, big tall guys, and I walk out there, I could feel like, and they want to be a predator to me, they could easily take me like that. Okay, I'm not going to win in that type of situation. I've done kickboxing before, and like my dad got me into kickboxing to protect myself, but it doesn't even matter. Like if there's 5 big dudes and they want me, like I could be in trouble. And what it's really like for women is that we don't feel safe in the world. It's really scary. And no matter how independent she is, no matter, if she travels alone, it's like I travel alone, I'm independent, I've never been married. Okay. I've never had a boyfriend as an adult. Like I'm alone. And I'm not afraid of the world, but deep down, there is that fear always. As soon as you leave your house, as soon as I leave, okay, going into the workforce, like in corporate America, is very hard for me. It doesn't feel safe. Men cross boundaries in the matrix, they're unconscious. If you're kind of in the matrix most of the time, most those jobs. And boundaries are crossed, and it's scary to be harassed in the workplace. Your money could be potentially messed up. You could potentially have to go to court for that. Someone could take you and wait for you at your car. It's scary. I've had men write letters to me and stalk me. I've had men tell me that they've taken pictures off of my website and put them on their screensaver on their phone so they can visualize a wife like me, and told me that plain and simple in an email as if I'd be flattered. It's scary. So to have, for me not to harden, which is my masculine, I have to have a partner that helps me to feel a sense of structure, safety, protection, to know I'm not alone. He's got me. Someone does, and I'm safe. That is how you really help there to be flow between you and the healthy feminine. And if she is healthy, she will appreciate you. You will see her start to get more soft. Because I hear it from a lot of men is like they're like, why is she so angry? Oh my gosh, every time she's on her period, she's just crazy. She's throwing my shit out on the lawn. It's like very angry women. Well, you're not helping her to feel safe. You might not be emotionally present with her. You might not be hearing her, receiving her, or being able to like articulate really your needs. And maybe that's why you're pulling back. Like you don't know yourself, so you don't know what your needs and wants are. So that was never discussed before you got in the relationship, and you're not getting your needs met, so you're pulled back. She's angry. She feels that. A lot of times, men, they have these expectations of women in marriage based off of indoctrination and what the church says it should be like. And it's not the truth. What really works for men and women. So we really have to understand, you have to get into these core traits of the conscious masculine in order to Help her to be at flow. She's fighting you because she's hardened. She has to in some way. So your job in the union is to help her to soften, help her to relax, in this world where it's male dominated. It is scary. It is hard. We're less likely to get positions in the workplace. We've got to fight, especially women of color, for our truth. I mean, look what they're saying in the white supremacist American Christian nationalists about, Black women surgeons, that they're literally saying that DEI gave people a hand. A surgeon who went to university, med school, and then training was given a hand. It's insane what we have to go through with the toxic patriarchy. Okay, and a lot of men resonate with that. I've heard it. I've heard a lot of men agree with that and stand with that and be okay with it, and then wonder why women around them are going apeshit all the time. Okay, you're dismantling her. You're not helping her feel safe, and you're not standing for her. So the conscious masculine is also an initiator. We're going to get into men today are waiting for women to chase them later. But if you think about the structure of biology, where she has the womb that she holds, and the yoni in Sanskrit, and then men have the lingam. They've got the penis. So he gives to her, and she receives. That is the natural order of our human biology. So men are the initiators, and I'll tell you, I've dated rich men. I've dated professional athletes, and I've never committed relationships with any men, but I've dated wealthy men, and I've also dated poor men, men that are busting their balls and hustling in the matrix. I've dated both. And let me tell you something. I've dated confident men, dated insecure men. They will initiate every time. If a man wants something, he goes and gets it. And I think a lot of women don't get that. And they try to change men, they chase men, and men have come to this place of where they almost expect women to chase them, but that's because of this disruption of balance. So men always go for what they want, period, regardless of their background. That is their natural nature. So as the initiator, you say, I see what I want and I'm going to go get it. I'm going to go get her number. I'm going to go say hello. I'm going to go start a conversation. And you might naturally, when you see a woman, sometimes men go cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, and they're just over a woman. And they do. You just naturally do. It's an act. Okay? You're choosing to act. You're choosing to lead with clarity. And you also feel a lot better and thrive as a conscious masculine, as a provider. Okay? So it's kind of like that initiator. And this doesn't even have to be just financially, but energetically, she can feel restored with you versus dismantled. She can feel rejuvenated with you after sex versus feeling drained. Because a lot of men, when you don't regulate your emotions, your prostate will hold it, your reproductive system will hold it. You'll have an imbalance with your chi or prana, your Holy Spirit, your sexual essence. And when you have sex with this unconscious energy, she takes it. Her cup takes it. And next thing you know, after sex with her, she's flipping out on you. And she's upset and she doesn't feel good. She's having stomach aches, so be accountable. And that's my next trait, is that the conscious masculine is accountable, owns the impact of their decisions, not just the intent. And this comes with an ego death. You have to be able to put your ego to the side and say, I take accountability when I'm wrong. And there's another part to that. You have to also, as the man, know how to have the steps to take to get out of it, or to fix or rectify the situation. You are the one giving direction. So presence is also really key for the conscious masculine, that of which many men are not. You have to learn energy grounding techniques into your root, into your sacral chakra, into your feet, into your body, into your heart. You have to ground. You have to be present. And if you have escapism, issues with addiction, what I've seen is that it's not the addiction usually. It's like the underlying trauma that leads you to wanting to escape. We're in chronic states of stress in today's world. Let's be real, all of us, men and women, it's exhausting. So you have presence through a regulated nervous system. This will also really affect your money in a positive direction. So a lot of times we're chasing dopamine, and this is money. Money will give you dopamine in your nervous system, and there's never enough. You always want more. When you're present, you realize there's no past or future, so you're not worried about tomorrow. Now you're saying, Jojo, what the heck? You just told me to pay all the bills. I didn't say that, but like I told you to keep all the structure and container. Like I got to worry about tomorrow, Jojo. But it's a balance. It's a presence, and it's also a faith, which is more feminine to have. But men, they go to church too. They look into spirituality too, and their spirits too. They're also really great intuitives. Like I've had one male mentor who I just adore, like super wise old man, much appreciated, very wise old sage. So you are intuitive too, and you really can get into that by having spiritual authority. So that's connection to source directly. So you're not outsourcing someone else to tell you what to do. You know how to connect within. And that's also what a lot of men have been disconnected from through indoctrination and colonization. The system strips men from their spirit and says it's like too feminine, or you'll be a sissy if you do, or you'll be a chump if you're one with your emotions. But you have to understand that you must get some sort of spiritual sovereignty and authority over your faith, and know that you're connected to source from within you. He's not outside of you. Okay, source is not outside of you. Maybe you don't feel there's a gender with source. God is out within, not without. And the masculine energy it's not necessarily dominance, it's direction. Okay? Because the woman could be very dominant as well. And I think a lot of times, if we are authentic and we know our needs and wants, we're actually able to understand our submissive versus dominance that we like sexually. And that can look very different for men and women too. We think like men just want to dominate in bed. Well, sometimes they do want to be submissive, and that needs to be okay. And you need to understand what kind of dynamic actually you want and need in your life. So women can be dominant too and still be in their healthy feminine. The masculine is right now going through a collapse and a switch. We are seeing an increase in health, physical and mental health issues for men. It's alarming the rates of depression and unaliving. I'll say it for the algorithm. Men account for nearly 75% of unaliving. That is not okay. Okay, so we have to think like, what is happening in society that this is going on? Religion, imbalance of sexual energy, feelings of men aren't able to resolve trauma. It's deemed as feminine to go get a therapist. But men, if you're going through, like, let's say a divorce or custody battle, that's traumatic. Your nervous system's going to be out of whack. And a lot of times men don't understand that that's what's happening, that there's a literal biological imbalance because of what they're eating, all of the trauma, the stress. Okay, your hormones are imbalanced, you're not taking care of yourself, but there are remedies you can do to heal that. And I think it has a lot to do with feelings of empowerment. A lot of men feel disempowered, and a lot of men don't really want to work in the matrix. Let's be real. And it drives men, I think, off the wall. It's very, very hard for anybody to work and live in the matrix, but I think men tend to really suffer. And they also suffer in marriages where they're not able to say I want polyamory and be able to get that. They go and lie and cheat. And I think it's better for men to just be honest. Like if you want that, then you want to marry somebody that will accept that from you. And there are women that will accept that for you if that's what you want. But a lot of men aren't allowed to, they don't let themselves be authentic because they were never allowed to growing up. We also see, so a lot of men are on, depression meds, and they stay on them because they never find the skills to actually process trauma correctly and let go and heal. There's also like a rise of erectile dysfunction, low top testosterone, and even in young men. Okay. There is a rise of prostate issues and cancers. There is a rise of cardiovascular disease for men as well. If we think of the heart chakra, this is where there's a lot of suppressed grief, anger, unresolved wounds, unforgiveness, hatred. All of this is in the heart, and it's causing these physical diseases. Now, I'm not a doctor. I can't prescribe or diagnose, but energetically and in medical intuition, we understand that when we repress emotions in the body, what is not felt, it becomes stored. Okay, it's somewhere in your field, it's somewhere in your body. Think of emotion. You want it to be like the ocean, you want it to be like a wave and flowing. You don't want it to be rigid and held. You want to process, you want to let go. And that's also a sign of emotional intelligence. So do what you have to do to understand your emotions, and process them. Because a lot of times men will hold unresolved wounds in their prostate. They'll hold it in their heart. We're seeing a lot of digestive system imbalances, diabetes, nervous system imbalances. You're going to hold it somewhere in your body, and it's just not worth it. You want to let it go. The natural rhythm of life is cyclical. So what's coming in, get it out. Don't hold on. That's like having cords. If you have all of these cords connected to you, it tends to block the prosperity that wants to come into you. If you haven't cut cords from your ex, you probably, will be corded and feel energetically not available to your next woman. You're like, why can't I? I've been divorced for like 10 years. Why can't I find somebody else? Because you're still corded to her. And you are energetically not giving off the magneticism or energy that you're available. And you're not attracting the mate. You didn't clean it up. You didn't wrap it up. You didn't heal. You didn't process it. You let her go physically, but you forgot your spirit. You forgot your energy. So you need to cut cords when you need to. You need to get into energy grounding, energy shielding, and see if that helps you with how you're feeling. And this is a great opportunity, just speaking to you, to work with me. I love to work with men in this context because it works. The techniques I teach, like the energy maintenance, works. Let's go ahead and switch into relational and social breakdown. So right now, divorces remain sky high. Domestic abuse remains prevalent. And a lot of this is rooted in emotional dysregulation. Okay, so you can be strong person, but a lot of it's emotional dysregulation. A lot of men that are unconscious don't have boundaries. They overstep boundaries. And this is really, really dismantling for women. We don't feel safe. Even if she's smiling at you and opening up in the bed. But deep down, if you come that way to her, she's going to not trust you. She's going to be skeptical, and have a lot of issues. Now, this is something I also see. It's not shame-worthy, but I get it. But a lot of grown men are living with their parents in adulthood, and I say this because I know men don't want that. They do not really want that. It makes them feel embarrassed and shameful, and you shouldn't. But these are the days to be communal, and you have to get to a place, sir, where you can contain yourself. Once you're in that place, that's when you're actually really ready for marriage. That's when you're really able to date. Okay, when you got maybe some money in the bank, and you can take her on a date, and you can initiate. You can create that container. We like to just skip levels. We like to level jump. I'm 38 and I want to get married today, but you're still at home with your folks. And deep down, that's actually keeping you from going out and approaching women because you don't want to tell women that. Okay. So you have to understand your priorities and know that you can't level jump. You really do have to face your emotional issues. You really have to face that trauma. You really have to be real with yourself that you're mentally and emotionally messed up because you never had a dad, because your mom walked out on you at 4 years old. You were beat. You grew up in a war-stricken country. You were in active duty in war. You had a parent that, made you do drugs, whatever it may be, okay? Whatever it may be, you want to be able to address it. I'm here to tell you, don't hold on to that. Don't hold on to that. That's too much for you to hold and bear. And if you do, your pain is going to start manifesting in these physical ways. And you're going to want to hide. And you're not going to want to be confident and brave and initiate. I also see a crisis, and a lot of men over rely on their mothers for emotional regulation. Now, the baby boomers tend to smother. They've smothered a lot of times men because of the way that what they went through with their parents. And there was a lot of physical abuse for the boomers. And so the way that they're kind of making sure they're not abusive to their kids is like overly smothering. But you have to understand that, like, we are, you have to kind of graduate. You have to learn the lessons and move on. And you have to understand that you might be avoiding adult responsibility, but men expect respect, especially between a man and woman. Sometimes men want the woman to be submissive, but like you're avoiding the responsibility that it takes to be able to have a woman be able to respect you. So I think that there's a lot of like false security in relying on someone else when you're a man. That's not real safety. Okay. So a mother can nurture, but she can't initiate a man into sovereignty. Now, a woman can really initiate. A wife, like your divine union, can really initiate you into a higher level in your life. You could get into like sacred sensuality and sexuality and be really initiated higher in wealth and success and happiness and healing. As well as if you ever think of like a kingdom, he finally becomes the king when there's queen. It's a union. And so your partner can initiate you, but your mother cannot. And it's a false security. You don't have to pay as much rent, but it's false. It's false security. It doesn't really make you feel good in the end. So you want to work towards your independence. Now, a lot of men are experiencing father wounds or they're fatherless. So abandonment, emotionally or physically. This is huge. Abandonment wounds are huge. Okay. If you don't heal that, then it's like you're going to go into dating and you really want to get married, but you're operating from an inner child state. You talk like a child. You act like a child. You carry yourself like a child because you were abandoned and then you've learned to abandon yourself. So you need to get help with abandonment wounds. I think right now, what could you do is you could like get on YouTube and I'm like, there's so many like free audio books and you want to educate yourself on it. Abandonment wounds for men, spiritual healing for men, the fatherless man. How do I heal this spiritually? You want to educate yourself if you don't feel that you want to go and get therapist or have another mentor come in and help you to walk through the issues. And I think a lot of times with relational issues, I've said this before on my channel, and I say this in my business, is that like when you have deep relationship wounds, you don't heal them through isolation. You heal them through other people. You heal your relationship wounds with other relationships. So you've got inner work to do before you get to that relationship. You won't be at the resonance to connect with a healed woman unless you are a healed man. And I think a lot of times we forget that. A lot of times we blame women, men blame women and say she's out of line, she's out of character, she's a bitch, she's this, she's PMS, she's hormone, blah, 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 blah. But then you're not looking at your own mirror and realizing that you wouldn't have attracted her if you were really anything more healed than what she is. You're not. Okay, you're lying to yourself, probably not aware of it. But if you can give yourself moments of reflection, I think that's really how we really begin to develop emotional maturity, is becoming self-accountable, being able to scan yourself, check in with yourself. My heart's feeling this way today. What can I do to, help this me to not feel so much anxiety? And a lot of men were also raised without initiation. Okay. You were never taught how to hold your power responsibly. A lot of us have a really difficult lesson in this life, especially right now. It's very hard, is the economy is shifting and the financial shift is underway into digital currency. And we're getting out of like oil wars to like data wars. It's a different world. This is what we call end times. The earth is not ending. We're ending a consciousness and we're getting into a new world. So it is like an end of the world, end times. And it's like, how do you hold wealth these days? How do you hold your power responsibly? So if you were never taught that, your job today is to get an audiobook, watch a YouTube, and learn how to hold power. Maybe from another man, or maybe you resonate with women speaking to you. Find a woman on there that teaches how men can hold their power responsibly, spiritually. A lot of men also have never been able to really unpeel the unhealed father wounds. Now, I'll tell you why, because it's like really painful, really, really painful for men. It's really, really painful for women too. And I'll tell you what it looks like for a woman. When I was healing my mother wounds, I would cry so hard. And I think that a lot of men won't let themselves on that journey because of like how deeply painful it is. And like when you are one with your emotions, you cry. I've learned, this is what I've learned as a woman. Like I grew up and there was a lot of crying, very easily crying. And so I never really let myself cry as a teenager. And as a young girl, I didn't really feel the need to just break down and cry or cry over movies. And then I went through a trauma and I flipped the script and tears came. I finally was able to process things, but it was out of control. All of those years of repressed emotion were dysregulated, and I was dysregulated with how I was expressing my emotions. So then I finally got to an age, my probably mid-20s, after I got a bit more educated and saw a therapist, to where I just now sit with my emotions. I let myself. I'm not going to repress it because it's like it costs me too much. And if you can think like that as a man, and when you start to feel or notice like what emotional feels like to you, whether it's like you go and just are in private and process it, you go in your car or truck, wherever, you just cry, like let yourself. Once you get it out, it feels better. And you're like, I've been crying all week, Jojo. And I'm like, cry all week. It needs to come out. Now, if you're crying for months and months on end, we probably need to like balance the body. I don't mean to laugh because I've been there. I've been there to where I was like so depressed before. And I've healed it spiritually. Meds won't work. I had to look at my abandonment wound. No pharmaceutical is going to take the pain away. It's just going to numb you like a drug addiction and maybe help you to focus a little bit more, but you can do that with food and herbs and vitamins and minerals. Water, certain waters will help you to focus. Mineral water. Teas, there's adaptogenics. I mean, there's so many things you can do. You can go start exercising more to focus better. Eating cleaner. I mean, the list goes on into how you can actually like treat yourself holistically. You can actually pay somebody even to help you with that. There's experts. So that is what you want to do, is learn about emotional regulation and also initiation. Now, unhealed father wounds often create avoidance issues, addiction, rage, sexual fragmentation, multiple children with multiple partners, and without presence. I see this very often. A lot of men do not have their children in their lives. And I mean, you're not just like, one week on, 1 week off. I'm talking like you have a child that you've never met, okay? You have a child that you haven't seen in like 4 years, and you're also really sloppy with like mating. You're just mating with this woman and that woman and that woman, and you've got like 6 baby mamas, and you aren't there for any of them. There's a consequence to that. So a lot of times it comes from unhealed father wounds. It's like if you don't see it, you don't know that you should be doing better. You should take positive ownership of those children. So when you take positive ownership, that's part of the conscious masculine. So if you think about it, my favorite car is Porsche. So if I were to buy a Porsche Cayenne and, I'm going to wash it inside out, I'm going to make sure I put gas in it. I might go get that thing wrapped, make it look good. Shoot, I might sleep in that thing. It's like what's people with your cars. That's think about it. If you get a lamb, whatever your favorite car is, you will take good care of it. So positive ownership. I'm taking responsibility for this car. I've got the car. I'm going to take it and get maintenance. I'm going to take it and make sure it's clean. So positive ownership is deep down what women want. They deep down want you to have a positive ownership and say, I've got you. I'm going to hold you. You don't need to worry. Now she can be soft. Now you finally are like more sexually attracted to your wife because she's feminine. Now you're more happy with your wife because she's not arguing at you all the time. Her cycle starts to get more in rhythm, and so she's not actually in PMS. It's beneficial to you. Now you do that also with your kids. You take positive ownership. You guys do it more naturally with your children than you do women. But I want you to start thinking I'm doing it for not just your children, for your women too. Okay? So you need to be, you need to get your children in your life. And if you're struggling with being a father, I know that you probably deep down love it, but if you haven't seen your kids in years, get help. You'll thank me later. You'll write and say, JoJo, I have been estranged, but I got help, and my kids now, I see them. And, and that's when I see men like cry of tears of joy. Like, I know you really want that. So you need to get the help if you need it. But you definitely need your kids in your life, and you don't want to abandon your children. And let's say you've abandoned them for a long time, many years, decades, and you think about them every day. When you make your way back into their lives, maybe they won't accept you, and you don't do it because of fear of rejection. I'm here to tell you, you've got to get over that. You've got to initiate, okay? Especially if it's a daughter, you have to. And a lot of times we let fear get in the way of success. We don't ever go for the job because we're too afraid. We don't ever go for the woman because we're too insecure. We have a fear she'll reject you. We have a fear of getting disowned, fear of being shamed, fear of a lot of times rejection. And so men hold themselves back when, like, in reality, she's waiting for you to ask. She's waiting. She's healthy. She's not going to initiate that. Okay? That job is waiting for you. You get in the interview, you got the job like that. Think about if you were to just let the fear run you. You could have walked away from $1 million job. Okay? So you can't let fear run you. You have to choose love. And you have to get better at like facing rejection and having techniques of like, what happens when I get rejected? Because it opens up my fatherless wound. So if I get rejected, I'm going to use, not go drink 15 beers. I'm going to go for a walk at the beach. I'm going to go biking. I'm going to go running. I'm going to go to the gym, whatever. Journal, do art, paint, draw, sing, dance, rap, whatever it is you do. That helps you to have that outlet when you get rejected, so you're not triggered back into a trauma response. which leads to the point of addiction, escapism, and false masculinity. That's false. Okay. This men forever have like, they get this imagery of like the flask and their cigars. Okay. Not all men drink. Not all men smoke. Um, it's a choice. And I think that it's also a false masculinity because, like, when you're really conscious and healthy, you don't need anyone else's consciousness to think for you. You don't need a pill to make you happy. You don't need to escape reality anymore. You can be present and feel well. You're balanced, you're regulated, you're well. If you're not, the objective is to get well. The objective is to get healed, okay? Versus escaping. Society, Hollywood, and everyone you've ever known growing up, men have always ran to the cigar table with their booze, okay? Maybe there's another thing you can do to help yourself to cope versus trying something that's like poison. Alcohol is like poison. With the foods we're eating right, this is a different world than our grandparents were in. Like, I'll argue that like back when our grandparents were, living and going to sit down with, cigars and like rum, they were eating whole foods. They didn't have all the ultra processed foods. The cigars were even different. Okay. Alcohol could have been different then too. Very different. So it's a different world. Now alcohol is like pure poison on top of the poison that you're using as fuel and nourishment for yourself. So that's where it gets even deeper. Alcohol really leaves a lot of holes in your aura too, okay? And a lot of the pharmaceuticals are just addictive and further you from mask you from what you're actually trying to escape. So there is a huge addiction crisis with men. And I would just challenge you today that maybe like you seeing men go to the bar and handle things that way, maybe that's the false masculinity. Maybe that's the toxic masculinity or the unconscious masculinity that has been running our world and really leading us into a lot of suffering. So a lot of men are not one with their sexual energy. They're not having enough sex. They say, well, I don't need sex. You do. It is good for you. It is so good for you. Like, I believe like it was the CIA is like pushes for their employees to not only have whole foods but also have lots of sex. It's really, really good for your brain. It's really good for your body. It helps you to heal. It'll help you to not just like cope with life by escaping. It'll give you oxytocin. It'll give you the brain chemistry and neurochemistry that is lasting versus that you always chasing the money is just dopamine. It's quick and it's not going to really, nourish you. So I will challenge you that you do need sex. And I see this over and over again because men are so unauthentic. They don't really know what kind of sex needs they want. They don't know their fetishes. They don't know. They're not allowed to. It's like woo woo. It's taboo. It's dirty. It's perverted. If you repress your sexual energy, it's going to be bad. And this is like one of the number one things of cheating I see. Like, this is why men cheat because they're not honest about what they really want and need. And they're not honest about that they're not getting it at home. And that they got with a partner that doesn't resonate with them sexually. Or maybe it's just like, the church says you should be with just one person your whole life. And that's not true. So we get in marriages where like after about 30 years, like chemistry's dead. There's no sex. He's cheating. She's unhappy. Instead of just being like, look, I need sex. I'm not getting it. Can I get it here? And she says, no, that's not with me. I don't like that. Okay, well, let's split. They stay. And I would say that's not love. You have to choose authenticity. That's what's going to be real. Because guess what that man's going to do? He's going to continue to cheat. He's going to go get his needs met in however way he is. And it usually turns real dark when people are doing sexual acts, from a fraudulent point, from a non-truth perspective or intention. And then They end up having a lot of guilt and they drink and escape. It's really bad. You need to be real with your partner, period. And ladies, you need to hear your man. If he's saying he needs more sex, you need to give him more sex or you need to let him go get it from someone else. It is important. And I think that'll be a solution to a lot of the cheating. And I also want to mention in this new world, it's like very unorthodox, but like you can get divorced from somebody and still be in their life. Like, there's no chemistry anymore. Why don't you want to be happy? Go find someone you do have that spark with again. You guys have been together for like 30 years. You ran your course. Good job. Like, move on, and still be friends. You're not sleeping together anyways, right? Still be cordial. It doesn't have to be a war, but be real. Be real. Easier said than done. I don't have a marriage for like 30 years, but I'm just trying to offer some practical solutions here. Let me know if this is resonating with you in the comments, your thoughts, questions. So a lot of times also men will escape through gaming. This is one that is like really turns me off, is like men that are just like sitting playing these like killing games all day. I'm like, what the heck is this? Like, why are you sitting and killing people on the TV all day? What is that saying about you? Why have we normalized this? Modern day warfare is disgusting. It uses drones and targets children. So if we're going to entertain this as a game, there's a soul issue. There's a deep soul issue. This is a very common one. Men are playing these Call of Duties, and it's just like you're sitting there killing people on a video game fantasy. This is the video game. This is the stimulation. So if you're escaping through video gaming, why don't you just focus on being the main character energy? Okay, in the Matrix, in your world, in your stimulation. Do you want to be a non-player entity, or do you want to be the main character? Why don't you get into your main character energy and do something else? Create something. Okay, find out what, let yourself say, I like to do this, and go do it. Okay. Now, false light masculinity is manifestation without integrity, owning what you manifested, taking accountability, saying you're wrong when you're wrong, getting help when you need it. This is huge too. False light, I call this out all the time. There's so many men that are like, they're masquerading around with spiritual language, but not embodiment. Okay. And when you're around a man long enough, he has this Christian persona. And then when shit hits the fan, you're like, God isn't even real. Truth came out. So a lot of the men in the church, like, they don't really believe it. They also don't embody it. It just makes them like feel good and appeases their wife. You really have to embody your truth, okay? Otherwise, you're in a false light. It'll catch up to you. And a lot of times, you're ego-led, and you think it's enlightenment. So you have to be able to check your ego as a man. I think this would be the downfall of a lot of men, is they're not able to. They're not able to, which will really developmentally delay you and stunt your growth in so many areas. So power without responsibility is not masculine. It's actually premature. It's adolescent. You repeat that. Power without responsibility is not masculine. It's adolescent. So you want all this power of your home. It makes you feel good when you have that power, but you don't want the responsibility that it takes. So you have to have that happy harmony and balance. Emotional literacy is literally key, and it's the missing initiation that was never taught to you. You were never taught that men are not, you were taught that men are not emotional. And the reality is that you're really untrained in emotional literacy. You have to develop that skill just as you would a sport, okay? A muscle. Understand that suppressing your emotion dysregulates your nervous system, creates rage, numbness, and dissociation. The healthy masculine energy, Emotion names their feelings. I feel upset. I'm pissed off. I'm effing angry. I can't believe that happened. That was shocking. I'm sad that that person just passed away. Whatever the emotion, you have to be able to name your feelings. That's the first step in the healthy masculine. And you're able to regulate it before you react. When we're reactionary, this is emotional dysregulation. So parts of the brain is like, some people are more reptilian. They're more in their animalistic brain. They're more in the reptilian brain. And this is very reactive, very egotistical, very reactive. And that's how a lot of men are. But when more you regulate your emotions, you're less reactive, you're more intuitive. And you can express without collapsing. So you can express that you feel sad that grandma just died without feeling emasculated as a man. You have to know that, like, if your grandma dies, it would be healthy if you bawled your eyes out. If you loved her, that's healthy. And we have to hold space for men, ladies, and other men. Like, if you know your best male friend just lost his mother, go give your dude love. Give him a hug. Like, that could be one of the worst moments of his entire life. And we don't see men doing that. It doesn't mean you're gay. It doesn't mean, they're like, men don't do that. You guys don't do that. I'm just trying to throw things out there for you guys. I could just see so many men being like laughing at that, but maybe somebody relates. Let me know in the comments. If you're a really big masculine man and you got a hug from another big masculine man when your mom died. Okay. I want to know if you are able to do that as like big men. Let me know. Am I off or am I right? When I say mom died, I mean that's pretty much like the men relate to that. Like, men relate to that. I know when my grandmother died, I held my dad. I held him. He was about to drop to his knees at her funeral. I held my dad up. He wanted to collapse. Okay. And I never looked at him as weak for that at all. All I could think about as a woman was being there for my father and giving him love and making sure he was okay. Okay. So, with the right people around you, you won't be made fun of. You won't be mocked. You'll be met with respect. No matter how big of a man you are. My dad's a big dude. He's a big guy. He's like, what, 6'4"? He's big. There's no way I saw that as weak at all. And guess what? Nobody else there thought that either. We felt for him. So it's not weak to be emotional. It's expected in moments of grief for you to express. And I'll be real with you. If you guys don't, you're going to borderline sociopathy. You need to. And then you'll have a lot of issues in your marriage and your family. Okay? So take home. Emotions do not equal weakness. Vulnerability does not mean dumping. Okay? So, like, a lot of times we trauma dump or vent. You have to, when you're vulnerable, you want to, and then men regret it, and then they never vent again. So when you're vulnerable, get grounded before you just kind of dump. Be vulnerable, but have that safe space to do it, and from a way that's you feel right to do it strategically. And so also understand that true strength, is feeling without losing containment. Okay. So that's the example of, like, if you're about to lose the mortgage, and you have a plan and your wife is like trying to figure out, why are you so stressed out? Like, I'm not saying to lie to her. You have to make sure you're still containing her. She still feels safe and assured. So maybe you're truthful at your approach, at your tone. You come to her with a plan. Babe, this is the truth. We're about to lose the home, but don't worry. I've got this. The job is lined up. The money's coming tomorrow. Like, it's just really freaking me out. That'll help her to not be dismantled. But if you're like, You just are like, you never learn to like regulate your emotions, and then this like life-changing thing like that, which is like traumatic for a man, happens, and you're just, oh my god, I don't know what to do, and you can't get out of bed, and she's gonna freak out, she's gonna flip, and it's gonna make it harder for everybody through a difficult time. So that's what I mean about like strength and feeling and vulnerability without losing containment. Okay, that's true healthy masculine. Let's go over some different types of masculine containers and different relationship roles. There are different containers for different roles, and men must learn relational discernment. So, I went over a lot with your wife or your partner. You want to provide a sense of physical, emotional, mental, spiritual safety and understand polarity. We're going to go over the traits of the healthy feminine here soon if you're still here. You have to get to a place to where she can be in that polarity with you. And like I said, many men appreciate that type of talk because they agree. They're like, I don't want to date another man. I want her to be soft. I want her to be feminine. If I want a rigid, hard, aggressive person, I'd be with a guy, right? Now, with your daughter, you want to give her protection without emotional reliance. Okay. You want, like, I know I can go to my dad about basically any topic, and so that's helpful. It's protecting. And it also hasn't made me codependent on him. A lot of men with their daughters, I'm seeing this, they smother because they want to protect, but they want to overprotect. And it makes them have an emotional reliance on their fathers. And that can be very unhealthy. Now, this is huge too. So if you have female friends, I'm going to say this very clearly. You need to set boundaries without flirtation. Gentlemen, if you have a female friend and you don't want a committed relationship with her, but you flirt with her, and let's say you guys have chemistry and you're attracted, she's going to want you. You're going to dig yourself a hole. And let's say you don't want that, but you need this friend. Like, you have to set boundaries and control yourself. If you are flirting with her, you have to check yourself and say, do I want to be with her? Can I take care of her? Can I give to her? Can I love her? Can I give more? Or are you just flirting to just try to get? And that's when you dismantle women. You must set boundary with your female friends to stop the flirting unless you want to initiate something more. She will read it as mixed signals and you're going to mess up your friendship. Now, with female employees, you want to have authority without intimidation or seduction. I can't work in corporate America without getting sexually harassed. It's crazy. I don't care if I'm covered in a suit and not showing any skin, they still can be very out of line. And I don't welcome it. I'm very happy-go-lucky and like open. I'm a talker, and like that to me doesn't mean I'm inviting anybody in my space. Period. I could be nice to you, and friendly does not give you the okay or mean giving you the green light to flirt with me. And I have a very strong sexual essence about myself. And that's why I'm very careful in corporate America. I wear suits. I prefer to be covered in baggy suits usually because I don't want to even get to that. I don't go in corporate America anymore. Thankfully, I'm not in the matrix, but it shouldn't have to be that way. It shouldn't have to be that way. And nearly every man that I've ever worked for has approached me in a sexual way. Everyone. That's a man that doesn't have healthy boundaries because I'm not with any of them and I never was. And I think a lot of times this is where men become predators. They also will manipulate women in this position. And then you're holding her money over her head and to get what you want and need. And you want to control her, and it becomes a game of submission and dominance. And so in today's world, sir, that'll lead to a lawsuit. You don't want that either. So you can provide authority without intimidation or seduction. So out of all of those different roles, a man can differentiate these different containers, okay? And a man that cannot differentiate these different container roles creates chaos. Now, the prostate and sexual energy from a spiritual lens, your prostate is where your creative life force lives and your truth. So are you suppressing your life force energy, or are you suppressing your truth? Or are you walking in it? Are you able to express it? Now, chronic suppression of desire, emotion, and grief leads to stagnation, and that's going to affect your health and bleed into other areas of your life, like your money, your happiness. Sexual energy is creative; it's not compulsive. Okay, so you want to get some sort of control over your sexual energy. You want to read sexual alchemy books, listen to the audio books on sexual alchemy, and understand it and get it into balance. So healthy masculinity chooses intimacy, practices restraint, and also honors the body as sacred. Okay. This is huge. I've noticed that men expect women to chase them. It's bizarre. Okay. That's the unhealthy masculine. Needing a mother. So this is a man that is in his inner child. He never emotionally developed and is expecting to be taken care of. And there's a lot of women that will do that. Now, it's toxic. It leads to a lot of like arguments. It leads to women being used, abused, neglected. It leads to women having children with men and then having to leave them and find someone else to raise the child with because they're not getting enough support. He's on the couch eating potato chips. She's out working 7 jobs. She ends up cheating. She's not happy. She ends up leaving. He doesn't get his kid. You have to understand that when men begin to expect women to chase them, this is the collapse of polarity. Okay, you've stepped into the unhealthy, and it's a collapse of the healthy balance between the polarities. Masculine energy initiates, and the feminine energy responds. So when a man is waiting passively, I'll tell you how women feel: alone. The attraction and chemistry begins to die down, and she looks in another direction. He's not going to give me my needs and wants. I'm going to go get it somewhere else. And if there's this like trauma bond in cords, I'll tell you, fellas, she's going to start to resent you. So resentment will then grow at that point. Okay. Let's get into, I'm going to try to wrap this up as quickly as I can. I'm exhausted. This is like 3 hours of filming today. This is almost 4. Food, the body, and emasculation. So over processed foods will disrupt your endocrine system. Hi, Jojo from Canada, and Rabbit. Hi, Robert Sprite. Thanks so much for being here. I'm almost done with this. I was just saying I'm so tired, but I have a few more points I'm talking on. I want to hear your thoughts in the comments and what you think of this. And maybe if since you're joining now, if you replay later, please let me know if you watch from the beginning. And thank you so much for being here. So food, the body, and emasculation. So all of these ultra-processed foods, like I said in the CIA, they won't even let the officers eat it or touch it. If your endocrine system is imbalanced, you're going to not feel well. It will disrupt your sleep, your rest, your mood, everything, your cravings, your sexual desires. Everything is disrupted when this system is affected. Now, excess soy, sugars, and alcohol also will affect your body. If we drink a lot of alcohol, there's more of a higher risk of cancers. Okay, it really damages the brain. It really has a negative effect on the heart. You need those organs. If you have children, you want to have a long life for them. If you have family, you want to be there. So you're going to have to realize that like what we consume is so important for our well-being, and a regulated body supports a regulated mind and spirit. And disconnection from physical strength and embodiment when we are dysregulated and having these foods. So you don't have strength. Now you don't have energy. Now you have to have the energy drinks every morning. and a lot of pop in the morning just to get by because you're so tired, because you're not nourishing yourself. So it takes away from your embodiment of your conscious masculine. We're going to do a little exercise here on how to access your third eye. This is huge for sovereignty. They demonize this in the systems, but man, I'm here to tell you, it'll make you feel so much better and more conscious and well. When you stop outsourcing your authority to religion, to, let's say, influencers, okay? When you're able to really go within, I think of like lawyers, even like when you can go in and know what you might be trying to do with your lawyer, like you have to be able to go within. So when you are tapping into your third eye, there's different things you can do. And one, you're going to want to train with me and work with me one-on-one in development sessions. But something really easy to do is there's different portals within you. So you can tap into your, well, we'll say third eye, but also I'm just going to say intuitive abilities in general, or your higher mind. You could do it through consciously tapping into right at your brow line here, this Ajna chakra, your forehead, the higher third eye. You could bring your awareness into your heart. You can bring your awareness down to where we would call like where the womb would be. So you have testes, we have ovaries as women. You bring your energy down into the sacral chakra, okay? And you can actually actively begin to channel from that space too. So you're doing it intentionally. That's it. You want to be centered, you want to be clear, you want to maybe have sheer shields and discernment and boundaries with the energetic world, but that's it. You just bring your intention into those energy centers and you sit in silence. Now, if your mind's racing, this is going to make it really hard for you to hear your intuition. But once you're in these spaces, you ask spirit directly. So you're asking your higher mind, you're asking your heart, you're asking your sacral chakra, your question, and you're trusting the intuition without losing your groundedness. You will hear back from spirit. It may be immediate, it may not be, but you will find that answer. And remember, spirit speaks through other people. So maybe you call this like when you're asking your heart or your God from within you, God, I don't know what to do here. A lot of times we aren't real with how we feel with God. Do you know it's okay to write a letter to God and be like, God, I effing hate this right now. And I'm so effing mad at you because I'm trying and things are not working. You have to be real. Let yourself be as real as you can with God, as real as you can, and get it out and say it and release and be in communication with source at all times. You don't have to go to the priest, box and confess, or go to the church. You can do it anywhere. Be real with source. Let source know how you're feeling. Ask the questions you need and be ready to receive, okay? So spiritual masculinity is direct relationship with source, not submission to false authority. If you want help with developing your intuitive intelligence, please work with me in spiritual development sessions because I can really help you to tune your abilities so that you can hear instantly. You will hear instantly, but sometimes there's some work we have to do with working one-on-one with a spiritual teacher like me is like and I'm telepathic, so I can hear what you're hearing, and I can clairvoyant, so I can see what you're seeing or feeling. That is so helpful for energy discernment because now it's like, that is right. Yes, I'm hearing the same thing or something similar. That's what it feels like to hear from you, from source through you. And just having that one other person is very validating to build that personal relationship with the unseen. Few more points here. I want to talk about the healthy feminine. So the opposite of the duality. The healthy feminine is the conscious feminine. She's receptive, right? She has the womb, she receives. She's intuitive. She's more naturally right-brained. She's creative. She's nurturing, not enabling. So when I was talking about where we have the unconscious masculine that's very, very, very reliant on mother. Usually mother is nurturing, but she's enabling. And remember, spirit is the good teacher. God is the good teacher. So, like, your angels don't enable you, they can't live your life for you. That's not the higher of love. When you go to school, your teachers don't take the test for you. So, real love is like you nurture without enabling. And I think that's a lot of times what happens that stunts the development of a lot of men is this overly enabling feminine. Now, the healthy conscious feminine is also emotionally expressive. She's able to say, I'm hurt today. I'm upset today. I'm feeling this way because of X, Y, and Z. She can express how she's feeling. Now, she's also magnetic. She's not chasing. She's able to sit and attract. Okay. So she's not out chasing men and chasing this and chasing money. And she's actually able to bring it to her from where she's at. She also holds a lot of wisdom and flow. The feminine energy, when conscious, does not lead the direction more so as she kind of animates the path. She is in the family. She's like, well, I'm sensing this and I can see this here. And, this might be so good. And what if we do this here? And so the healthy masculine can then be in union with her and bring his unique skills of containment while she's bringing in that animation of the path. If that makes sense. That's the union and where it actually tends to flow when we're both in that conscious unity. Because in the third dimension, we have the duality. So the third dimension operates through polarity. Polarity is not hierarchy, though. You have to know that. And unity doesn't erase that difference. So humans are interdependent by design. I so believe this. We have to get better at saying, I see that you're sad. How can I help you today? Men, if you see your woman is having maybe going through her moon cycle and she doesn't feel the best, take ownership. Be like caring about how she feels. We need each other more than ever. We need women, especially someone to say, like, I care about how you're feeling. How can I help you? Because our nature automatically does that. If we see kids upset, how can we help? If we see our man upset, we're like, can I do something for you? Can I help? What can I do? So we need to start caring for each other's well-being. We need to look out for one another. And we have to admit, in a very hyper independent world, that we do not really want to be alone. So independence without a relationship is what we would call isolation. And when we have relationships without sovereignty, it can be enmeshment. Okay, so it's a boundary and it's a balance when it comes to unity, duality, and interdependence upon getting our needs met with one another. So I was talking about positive ownership and what men must reclaim. So the positive ownership, going back to the Porsche story of like me getting the car I want, I'm going to take the ownership of the choices of that car, and if the maintenance of the car and the impact of how I'm driving on the road, and flat tire, I'm going to get it fixed. I'm going to take leadership. So when you're in a relationship as a conscious masculine with women, you do all of that with her. I'm going to help with the choices of the home. I'm going to help with making sure everybody's, well, and the impact of my choices on my family, and deal with my emotions so I'm not overpouring over here. I'm going to take leadership so that I have respect and that she can be submissive to me. It's not blaming other people. It's not victimhood, and it's not entitlement. So a conscious man does not ask for power. He earns trust by providing the positive container. Now her wall's down. Now she feels safe. Now she feels protected. Now she gives you the trust without even you having to ask for it. Okay, computer's gonna die. I'm exhausted. I'm gonna do a closing message. So again, this whole video was not about shaming men. Okay? It's about initiating them. You've been initiated tonight if you're here and you watched this whole thing and it resonated. It's initiation. Good for you. Because you're one step closer to getting that sacred union that you really want. You're one step closer to getting that marriage, that happy home. You're taking accountability. You're helping the collective. I love that, because if you're here and you're still listening, it's like, I love that, because I've been told so many times by people and clients, one person can't make a difference. That's not true. One person can. And it's a ripple effect into the collective. So we as the collective are creating our experience. We are co-creating what's happening with one another. So all the chaos we see is really a reflection of what's in us right now. So every thought, every prayer, every intention, how we go about in our actions in the world matter. Every person, especially men, because you can be a really powerful leader and persuader, and other people will see you be able to, you just lost somebody very, very dear to you, deceased mother, okay, and you cried and you're not soft for it. That'll show another man that when they go through serious grief, that any human, man or woman, would cry. It's okay to. And that could really transform his whole life, to know it's like, I'm safe to like process this. It's healthy to cry when you grieve. For men too. What's not healthy is repressing, and you're sociopathic, okay? So be that leader for men. The world does not need softer or harder men. Okay, it's not about softness or hardness. It's not about that. It's about the regulated presence of your mind, the regulated spiritual sovereignty of your consciousness. When the masculine rises consciously, the feminine finally rests, and children heal. Okay, so we thrive together with one another. It's important right now that we all work towards the healthy masculine and feminine. And we come together in unity. And this is how we help one another, and we really have our families and homes happy and thriving. And it'll affect not just relationships, but it'll affect your success, your business, your work, whatever it is you're trying to create in life. When we can come as the healthy, conscious feminine and healthy, conscious masculine together. Okay. That's what I've got for you guys. Like I explained, I'm so tired. Hope this was good. I want to hear feedback in the comments on this one, because this was a really interesting topic. I want to know if this helped. And if you have any prayer requests, you can always email them to me privately or drop them in the comment box. Please share to someone that you may feel could benefit from this information and knowledge. And thank you so much for your support and for being here. I hope you guys have a great week.